Gosia, this is Cosmic Agency, and I am so happy, so excited to finally present to you the anecdotes. And it's not going to be just this video, it's going to be several parts. Now, these anecdotes I have been compiling and gathering for some time in a separate folder. However, as I was now editing this and being excited about sharing different stories of what they do on the ship, I actually went and started digging into the past conversations that I haven't put away yet to this folder, and I found more anecdotes. So that's why it extended into several parts. And I'm very happy to present this to you because we always say, oh, this contact is not just, what you see in the videos, it's not just topics, different things happen all the time on the ship. So I'm happy now to share some of the stories with you. So let's say there is a level 1 communication here, and this is what you see in the videos. And then there is level 2 stuff. Like I said, stuff that we always say, oh, there is stuff happening on the ship, but we never share that because it's something personal. It doesn't relate to any specific knowledge that needs to be presented to the people. So that's why it's not priority video to be made. If ever, it's just personal stuff that happens. So here, I'm happy to finally kind of introduce you to some of the stories of level 2. Just remember, this is just some, because it's impossible for me to absolutely look into every conversation in the past 6 years. Now, there is also level 3 of this communication, and the level 3 is the stuff that is maybe personal, but it's not shareable. So unfortunately, level 3 I cannot share, but at least now you'll get this privilege to see some of the level 2 stories and conversations. And then there is level 4 stuff, and that is stuff that we never get to see and hear about, because they're not going to come and tell us absolutely everything and tell us, report all the stories that are happening on the ship. It's impossible. And then there is stuff that is classified. So that's like level 4 classified stuff, or stuff that we just don't need to hear about because, it's boring for them to be telling us absolutely everything. And also remember that right now we don't speak actually to Taygetans themselves. Before it was Aneeka who was a Taygetan. We had a communication with Dorkalel. He's going to give you one of the anecdotes here as well, I think in the second part. We talked to SWARUU, Athena and Yaski. But I also want to specify, because someone also asked if the communication continues to be daily, because I always say that in the beginning of each video. Well, yes and no. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. That's why it says almost daily. Definitely the communication right now is less. They are very busy. Yaski has been very busy also doing her stuff and doing, doing Yaski stuff. And Athena also very busy with maintenance, piloting, and there is a lot of new movement now because there are a lot of new members, Taygetans, that arrived. So there is a lot of commotion up there as well. And there are other reasons why they have been busy. Like I said, not everything is shared with the public, and then not everything is shared also with us. So yes, the communication now is less, and also what we do have of the communication is not. It's something more personal. It's nothing really to do with the topics for the people. That's why I am sharing all the conversations. I take this opportunity to publish the previous chats, otherwise they would have been just accumulating and accumulating and accumulating. So in a way, it's a sort of a relief for me that I can get into those older chats, and then Mari takes care of the new updates. It's a perfect combination here and teamwork. But of course, I would lie if I said I don't miss some of the deeper chats with Yaski and Athena as well. I have many burning questions put away there in the questions folder, some mine, some from you. The communication, like I said, is not maybe daily, but it's almost, or it's like few times per week, and sometimes it's just a short update or a short comment about something or acknowledgement of something or a question answered briefly or something said briefly. So it's not like very extensive conversations daily. No, so just so you know. However, I still say daily because, in the last 6 years, sometimes it was few times a day. And then there were moments where they were gone for 5 months. So I just still leave it there because you never know. It comes and goes. Okay, now let's get into these anecdotes. I have different ones, and we'll continue with the second part and maybe even the third part later on. Okay, the first one here, what I'm sharing, is, I think I did maybe share some of that before, not sure. It is in the first month when we met SWARUU of Erra back in 2018. The conversation was from the 2018. And it's when she is telling me that she has been feeling sick because when she went down to Earth, yes, she went down to Earth on a specific personal mission, that will be a level 3 information, and she got sick. So here we have the conversation about that, about her getting sick. Enjoy it, and I'm going to see you soon before the next one.
Originally in English. April 2018. How are you feeling today? I feel you are not 100% well. Is something on your heart? Maybe tired? And it's not coming from what you write. It's more of a feeling from you I get. I really love to see that you are also telepathic. I love to be with you because you are so like-minded, and I don't wish to miss our conversations, but I am feeling less that well today. I am just a little tired, so I do get somewhat dyslexic. I wish to stay for the duration though. It's another hour anyhow. I am so glad you like being here with me, but why aren't you feeling well? I feel you are kind of flat today. Not what you write. How I feel you inside. Feelings are the first and the easiest to transmit telepathically. They go first, then other information. I am not well yet because I got poisoned with arsenic. I'm still weak. I'm still having problems intaking food. I lost a lot of weight. But I am getting better. I went down to Earth and I bought some vegetables from an old lady that said that she grew them in her garden. So I thought there would be no problem with them. And as soon as I made some chickpea soup with potatoes, I got terribly sick to my stomach. I thought it was a density problem, but at the time I didn't know that earth potatoes can contain a lot of arsenic, especially green potatoes. And I ate green ones. I nearly died. This was a month ago. How long did you stay on Earth? 2 weeks. Where did you sleep? In your ship? Yes, the ship inside is like a small apartment in size. When I felt very sick, with vomit and diarrhea, all I could was sleep, and I was alone in Susie. I moved her to a swamp because I needed to be hidden, as I felt very vulnerable. I didn't sleep because of the stomach pains, and because Susie kept indicating intruder alert and perimeter alert all night long, because of all the wildlife in the swamp, and I believe I was not alone. A lot of who knows what was out there, and it was very scary. And water? I had enough water for like 5 days. And after 5 days? I then could take seawater and filter it. Couldn't you shield your ship and make it invisible? I moved the ship to the South Pacific, to a deserted island with a creepy center. But after like 3 days, I had to move it again because a little propeller float plane was passing nearby every day. I can keep her cloaked and invisible, but that means having the engines on all the time. And as I was alone, I didn't want to overwork the engines, as I didn't know if I ever was going to be able to find a way to fix them should something go wrong. And I knew that coconuts could help me, so I ate coconuts. But then I didn't know they were also causing more problems. But they did more help than bad. That's what I ate mostly for over a week. Was it your first time on Earth? In this body? Not the first time. On that island, I was alone there and I felt better. I was far from everything and the place was beautiful. When I arrived there were no birds. Strange, but after a few days, the place got full of seagulls that constantly stared at me and messed Susie all over with their poop. Very curious animals. But yes, I know I am exhausted from fighting my ailment. They insist here that I should go into the medpot, but as I said, I am not exactly fond of swimming naked in a jar with everybody looking. Tell them not to look? They are doctors, medical staff. They will look.
So yeah, this is what happened with SWARUU Vera. After that, she got better. I don't remember exactly how long it took, but she recovered and in the end, she was feeling okay. Okay, now I have a funny story to tell you. Because sometimes you ask if they are funny, if they appreciate jokes, if they joke themselves. Yes, they do. They have a sense of humor. In fact, I don't know if they adapt themselves, to what degree. They do adapt themselves to us, but to what degree? Because it's funny because the level of the jokes and the mentality of the jokes is almost the same. Like with us, we understand each other's jokes fairly well. Now, in the very beginning, I think in the very first year of the contact, I do not remember who it was. I think it was Aneeka, and I'm going to read this part of the conversation. She came up with, actually, SWARUU Vera came up with a joke, and Aneeka presented this joke. Robert was in on it, and they were pranking me. Apparently, they were pranking me because we were talking about how the internet communication is not like accepted by the ufologist or something, because it's like a new way of communication. It's not accepted by the Bibles of ufology, and we were talking about that a lot at that time. So here SWARUU Vera got this idea to prank me, and Robert already knew that they're going to change from now on the communication methods. And now it's not going to be internet anymore, but it's going to be letters. And I totally fell for it. And you will see here my reaction. This is what she says. I have given Robert the bad news about the way to proceed from now on regarding communication with us. SWARUU says that she did not know that the use of the internet was forbidden by the UFO researchers' Bible, and that she will not transgress it again. She apologizes. It should be made known that, and she said it in a very official way, and of course I was just getting to know them. I thought this was for real. It should be made known that from now on you should ask us something through your videos, and we will answer you as quickly as possible through your mail department, and you will receive the answer in printed form 3 to 6 weeks later. This is to increase credibility, because I think there is a communication out there happening with this type of method, and it seems to be more accepted. So now I'm asking, seriously, the answer will come in 3 to 6 weeks by mail? And Robert, who knows about this being a joke, says, it will be slower, but I think it's a good idea. And Aneeka says here, it will depend on the agility of your postal service, okay? And here I say, still very confused. I was like, what the hell? I didn't like this idea. So I said, but I didn't want to like oppose or be rude. So I said, but where will it be sent from? From orbit to Earth? Do you think this will give more credibility? I am not sure about this, but we will adapt. I don't think people will think it gives more credibility, honestly. Do you, Robert, think so? And Robert said, yes, I think so. And she says, it will be very difficult and will put at risk a crew that will have to go down to a post office somewhere to physically send a paper letter, all for following the rules of the UFO experts. And then I say, okay, still puzzled, but I'm saying, yes, okay, we will adapt, yeah, whatever you say. And here I'm saying, I'm just saying I don't see how this will increase credibility. I see it as going backwards. So I was puzzled and respectful, but I still kind of said what I think here. I see it as going backwards. Already a lot of people have accepted internet communication. Letters or internet is basically the same thing, because where does the letter come from? It could be anyone on Earth, just like with the internet, in theory, And then she says, seriously, continues to be serious, we will go back to channeling then. And Robert says, how can we be prepared to channel if we don't know anything about it? And then she says the last sentence, okay, I understand that, but at least it is accepted by ufologists as a viable form of contact. And I think she didn't tell me until the next day that it was a joke. I was very confused and disappointed that we are going to have to wait for the answer for 3 or 6 weeks. So that was just a prank they did on me. But there are all kinds of jokes, and I don't have those, unfortunately, put away somewhere on the side, because they are like within countless conversations. Maybe one day I'll get to it. Let's get to the next anecdote. This one is also very interesting. I think maybe in the Spanish community more about this. I didn't share this exact conversation, but maybe it was mentioned. It was when Aneeka is sharing with us that the ship lost gravity at some point, and what happened. And the funny story here with the cats, when they are bicycling, as she says, in the air looking for traction. And okay, I won't say anything. I will let Aneeka speak here for herself. Enjoy.
Have you ever lost one of your ships in space?
Yes, it has happened more than once. At the end of 2015, one ship lost power and had to be towed away, but nothing more happened. It is interesting to mention that, since that incident, that ship has suffered partial loss of its internal artificial gravity systems. Not the whole ship, but in sections, never twice in the same place. This leads to big internal problems, especially in the galleries, because boiling water and half-cooked food start floating everywhere. When it is restored, it all falls to the floor, causing a tremendous mess. In late 2016, as we were beginning to talk to a person from Earth, I was aboard that ship, where part of my job aboard was to look after the fish on the aquaponics deck. Well, one day, I was going my merry way down a corridor and gravity left us. I was in charge of the fish back then, so I pushed myself down the corridor, floating down as fast as I could to go help the fish, to save as many as I could. This in zero gravity. We had several incidents before where the fish died when gravity failed as they floated around drowning on air. But then, with no warning, gravity came back and I crashed horribly onto a breaker panel. Yes, we also have those. I nearly broke an arm, and I had a very serious cut above my left breast. And all for nothing, as the fish were safe. The gravity loss was localized, not shipwide. And I must also comment that the cats look very funny. The poor things in zero gravity. They were trying to grab with their little paws, with their nails on the blankets, as their hind legs run like a bicycle trying to find traction, while meowing in desperation. And when they're already floating in the air, they constantly flip over because they can't agree which way is down. But in the end, nothing else happens.
How dangerous. You have to be very careful. I thought that could never happen on your ships.
They have quadruple redundancy systems, the gravity systems. It's still a mystery, a strange thing, for the ship to have all 4 systems fail at the same time. It is interesting to note that ship has already lost gravity 3 times since 2015 when it was built, while this one, Toleka, has not had an incident since 1935.
So that was that. Well, it was funny, but not so funny, because Aneeka did hurt herself, and it could be quite dangerous, especially if you are in water also. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now we have something interesting, and it involves urmas. Yes, the feline, all-powerful cats. As you will see here, yes, they are all-powerful. However, they also can get hurt, because life out there is physical and you can get hurt. That's why they have doctors on board and surgeons and medbots. So actually what happened here was that the only Urma surgeon that they had at the time got hurt. He had an accident and he had to be attended to. However, no one could do it because he was the only surgeon in his ship. So actually Aneeka, who was then studying to be a doctor, and Senetre, and I think one more, I don't remember, you will see in the video, actually performed an operation on that injured Urma. So here I'm sharing the conversation with Aneeka when she is describing it.
The medical surgeon on the Avion 01 ship somehow slipped. He fell on a box of metal tools and spare parts, and a sharp blade got stuck in his abdomen and lacerated his liver. The bad news is that he is the only medical surgeon on the Avion ship. They have doctors, but no surgeons, as is the case here with Senetre, who is the only surgeon. So they asked us for help, and yesterday they brought him in as an emergency to the Toleka. Between Kara, Senetre, surgeon, and myself, we operated on him, mostly Senetre, of course, and he's sedated in the infirmary a few meters from here. He came out fine, and he will be fine. But he's a horrible patient, outrageously dramatic. When he came out of anesthesia, he felt fine and got up all drunk and walked around and already wanted to leave. He walked dragging tubes and ivy and everything. He was not thinking well. And it was a tremendous job to put him back in his recovery bed. He was carried by Regal, DK, and Salafiel, and the Urma was very angry. In 3 days, we will return him to Avion 01. His name is 30.
And did you know what he was like inside?
Inside, he's like a lion or tiger. We operated him with a hologram on top of him that guides us to the anatomy, nerves, blood vessels, arteries. The operation itself was not so difficult. The hard part was afterwards when he woke up half awake. Senetre did know Urma anatomy. Still, the medical hologram is very helpful. It tells you what's going on inside, and you decide how to go in for repair. A medical pod can't do that, because the pod can't remove a large piece of embedded lamina. You had to remove it first and prevent further bleeding.
So you went in and did the surgery with your own hands?
There are automatic systems such as AutoMed, but we prefer to use our hands, especially Senetre, who is an expert surgeon. And the dwarves, Yaski and Mary, wanting to see, and Athena like crazy preventing them from entering the observation room of the medical unit. It's like a dividing glass to see inside the medical room of the ship. Well, that's our stuff, what we live here. So we're not idle, but we do perceive the Urma as accident prone.
Very, very interesting, huh? I remember Aneeka was very intrigued by this operation, and took it very seriously, of course. She was very worried. It was like her first serious I think, operation, especially done on a different species. So it was pretty stressful, yes, and they also learned a lot through that. Aneeka learned a lot through this operation, I remember. She was telling us. She was excited about it, nervous, but very excited. Okay, before we move on to the video number 2, part 2, which is going to come next, in which I will share some of Yashi's stories, yes, some of her mischiefs, and some of the newest mischiefs as well. Let's continue back in time a little bit, and here I will share some of the ship's problems and ship's stories. Just like here I mentioned that they are physical people and they can get hurt, even all the powerful Urmas, they can, yes. This also can happen to the ship. They have all this technology, yes, that's right, but stuff still happens. It's still nuts and bolts ships, physical vehicles that need maintenance. That's why actually they are so busy all the time, because until very recently it was just 30 people on board on this huge Toleka ship that was originally designed for 1,800 people, I think, from what I remember. So that takes a lot of maintenance. Nuts and bolts, engineering, going into the pipes. Sometimes I remember they used to send Yashi to do some repairs. Because she's small and she can get into spaces. I think I remember something about Kila's ship. Kila's ship needed repairs, and he was relying on Yashi to get into these smaller areas. So here I'm going to share with you for the rest of this video some of the physical stories of the ship. Okay, the first one is a very, very short conversation, Aneeka and Robert, about some leak that happened, okay? And I'm sharing this also so you see what types of stuff we talk about. They tell us about the Toleka, they tell us about their life. This is what takes up a big parts of our conversations. So here it is.
And what does the crew do on the ship now?
It's all hands on deck. It takes a lot of maintenance ship like this, and there are only 31 of us. That is what takes up the majority of the day, not just the ship. Things like heaters or stoves. Right now, we suspect that a heating pipe that runs on hot water is broken somewhere, but we can't find where.
And it's leaking water?
Just puddles of water appear where they shouldn't after the system was used. Yes, it leaks. And there's steam condensation in the front engineering decks where we are. Those decks are between every habitable deck, between some of them at least. And there are a sea of pipes and wires. It's not easy to find where. It looks like the fracture is not near where it leaks on top of one of the trash compactors under the kitchens, and then it drips further back in the hallway, leaving small puddles. But yes, it's a leak, pipe fracture or joint fracture. There's always something to do.
And you don't hear the sound of dripping water coming out of the pipe?
No, but when the heating system is on, sometimes a tapping sound is heard, and the system fluctuates as you listen, like someone hitting a pipe with a hammer. It's a fracture, but where is it?
And can you hear that noise from inside the cabins?
No, only the systems that use that heating branch, which are the ones that go to the front of the ship by the atrium or common area.
Okay, so that was the leak. And now, and this is going to be a longer conversation and very, very, very interesting one. A few years ago, I don't know, 2019, 2020, something like that, something happened actually on the hull of the ship, outside. So Aneeka and a few others had to actually suit up and perform an extra vehicle, what's that name? Extra vehicle repair. You will see from the video. So she actually had to go outside, yes, with her fear of heights, because you were standing there, it's vertigo, total vertigo, but as she explains here, she wanted to conquer that. And they were repairing something that she will also explain what on the hull on the ship. And yes, the hull of the ship is made of a polymorphic material that kind of self-repairs, but not always. And she will explain this as well. Okay, so I'm excited to leave you with this portion of the video now.
Yesterday, heavy EVA maintenance for the ship. It was more complicated than we thought. EVA stands for extravehicular activity. That is, we went outside the ship to do maintenance on the hull or parts of the ship that can't be reached from the inside. NASA term, but we use it because it's jargon.
Wow, like astronauts?
Yes, like astronauts, USA, or cosmonauts, Russia. A crack appeared where the engineering bridge, which also contains the 12 capacitors, meets the main hull. Since it is polymorph titanium, that was odd. But it turns out it wasn't in the polymorph titanium, but in a reinforcement placed there later. It's an area of a lot of mechanical stress from vibration caused by the 4 huge main engines. It was causing decompression and a leakage of the interior atmosphere.
I thought it was also because of the gravel storms.
No, they don't hit it there because it's at the back, and the storms, which happen almost daily, they hit the ship from the front, where it is protected even with the main water tanks, which are huge, and then there are the shields.
And what were you doing outside this ship? How were you dressed? Did you have, oxygen cylinders on your back?
With the helmet also, like the astronauts? Do you float in space?
In an astronaut suit, but the ones from here, not those white NASA things, obviously. I was helping to disassemble the damaged piece and replace it with new polymorph. We wore magnetic gravitational boots and protective lanyard. Like this. Just a moment.
I thought you didn't need a suit, just a mask.
You can be outside in your underwear with a snorkel, but you need protection against solar radiation and whatever unforeseen events, and in the worst case, it keeps you alive if you get blown out. That suit absorbs impacts, keeps you at the right temperature, and has shields, communications, and all that. It's wise to use it. You can be outside in your shorts with a snorkel and air bottle, but your body can't get rid of the body heat, so it raises your temperature, and that causes dangerous thermal shock. Another problem is that you have to go into decompression first, and you do, but it's safer to have a suit. And it's not a bathing suit or a thong, but a full suit. You don't need decompression, but for safety reasons, you do it anyway.
But do you float? There is no gravity?
Yes, you float. Yes, there is gravity, but not much. It's a lie that there is no Earth gravity.
Is it the ship's gravity?
It also influences, but outside on the hull. There is no artificial gravity. For that, you need to be between an anode and a cathode that induces a high-frequency magnetic flux from top to bottom, creating a pressure return that pushes people and objects downward, pressing them against the floor or deck of the ship, with a force equivalent to terrestrial 0.8 g or 1.0 g to Marian or ARIEN.
So, you fixed what was wrong?
Yes, it was good as new, but it took about 6 hours to repair plus preparations. It had to be repaired because it was growing, and it compromised the gas line of the secondary systems of the engines inside, so we had to remove it and put it back somewhere.
And how was it discovered that what was broken was there at exactly that point? Did the ship itself inform you?
Loss of internal atmospheric pressure in the rear APU axis and control compartment, which is another small engine that serves as an auxiliary generator that is on top of the hull of the ship, towards the rear, where the engineering bridge begins.
And was that malfunction visible from the outside of the ship, or was it barely visible?
It wasn't visible unless you looked for it when you were there. It's where the faint red arrows are, in the equivalent place.
But Aneeka, don't you have vertigo? How did you feel when you were outside?
Yes, I get it a lot and I hate it, but I also do this thing to overcome it. I turn and I see the earth passing below. I turn the other way and there's the blackness of space, with one or another light or strobe from another ship in the distance.
How many people have gone?
There were 4 of us, 2 men, Kalel, Regel, and 2 men, Naishara and myself. Same people, because we're a constant team.
And how many hours were you working on that? Did you do welding?
About 6 hours. It's not welding, it's seeding metal, so that it forms in place. You make a paste and you put it on little by little, and it forms itself in layers on the hull, forming more ship. But as it is manual, you have to be guiding where, because we're in a vacuum. The paste is only here in these circumstances. In dry dock, it is metallic smart powder.
Very cool, right? I like that story very much. Now, in 2021, moving on a little bit, few years later, in 2021, I don't know which month, Toleka underwent certain updates, repairs and updates. Because the ship, like I said, is designed for 1,800 people or so, crew members. I hope I'm getting this number right. And they were only like 30 people or so. So they decided to actually remove some of the cabins, because they are like designed in a modular way, and redesign the spaces. So here she's explaining what was done to the ship. So as you see, they are always into projects, they are always doing something, maintaining, performing, changing, redesigning, building, and that's just on the technical side of things. One of the stories, before I leave you with this one, so apart from the maintenance, technical stuff, all that, they also, of course, they have their hobbies. I remember a few years ago, actually, men, Hashmalims, were into restoring a plane. They actually discovered some sort of an old, not ancient, but like Second World War plane somewhere here on Earth. They extracted that and they were building it. I mean, they were working on restoring that. It was a very cool project for them. They love this type of retro stuff, and they were having fun. I don't really remember how it ended. Sometimes these stories, like they share with us these stories, but we don't know how they end, because it's like it's always so much happening, and sometimes we forget to ask how did the specific story end. So I don't know if they managed to actually restore it or what happened with that. But anyway, back to the repairs 2021 updates on Toleka.
The ship was reloaded with supplies, services, food, and spare parts and extra equipment. Also, since the interiors are modular, facilities for a lot of crews were removed. That is, small crew cabins in general, cabins that were empty, and in their place, ship interior models more in line with our needs were put in. That is, for example, we did not have swimming pools and recreation areas before. Now we have that in exchange for useless empty cabins. There are a few of us here, so better equipment to live well. The installation of 2 spas, as you would say or call them there, 3 pools, one for leisure, one for exercise, and a big deep one for exercise and diving and underwater equipment testing. It was easy because the side is opened and a large prefabricated modules are extracted and replaced with ready-made ones that were already waiting for the arrival of the ship to install them. In just a couple of days, the interior changed radically. Not the entire interior, of course, but those areas that were not being used. The whole interior comes out and another one comes in, as if taking one box and putting in another. Everything already installed inside. You just plug it in, seal the hull back up, and that's it. You connect the electricity to the pneumatic systems if you have them, the ventilation ducts, and the water pipes. It's very common in ships to change its interior in that way. Modular quick replacement to change its purpose and use in hours or days at most.
Okay, guys, that's it for this part. I have so much more, and I'm actually uncovering more conversations. So let's see what other stories I will dig out. So this is it for this part. Thank you very much for staying until this point. And I'm looking forward so much. I'm very excited to continue sharing this with you in the next part, second or third. I'm not sure how many parts there will be. Thank you so much. Enjoy your days, enjoy your nights, and until next time, of course. Bye bye.